Hey y'all, so we had decided that because our cancer journey has become so extensive and there's so many people who are always wanting to just follow along on the journey with us, pray with us, support us, and encourage us, it was becoming really, really overwhelming for me to try to keep everybody up to date with Instagram captions and to give y'all updates when major things happen, because when those major things happen, it is a lot to have to try to remember all of the things that happen and all of our emotions and what God is showing us throughout this whole process, and then remember to actually post it on social media because of this season of our lives. And from the time that I got diagnosed, I knew that God wanted me to share the story and let others into the story to walk alongside us. But that has proven to be increasingly difficult the way that I was handling it, and so we have kind of shifted gears. We are starting a vlog that we will be giving y'all daily updates on. Now, these videos won't be posted daily, but we will be filming daily, and so on a weekly-ish basis, just depending on how much happens each day, we will be posting a vlog update for y'all. And so you can literally follow along and see exactly what we go through, not only just in a recap retelling type way, but literally walking through it with us and seeing our emotions literally in the moment and everything that we have to go through. A lot of people don't realize what it's like to battle stage 4 cancer, and I know that it's something that people are curious about. I hope that none of you ever have to experience something like this, but it's just one more way that we can show people what this is really like and show people what God is showing us during the season and how He is good and He is faithful despite the storms that we have to walk through in this life. But since we decided to start the vlogging in the middle of our journey, we wanted to make sure to give basically a prequel video to everything that's happened up until this point. Now, if you prefer to read all of this, then there are Instagram and Facebook posts that you can go back and view and see everything in writing. But I wanted to have an official first video of the vlog series to be able to say, hey, start here. In keeping with conjunction of this whole vlog atmosphere that we've started, we are literally at a hotel outside of Houston in the middle of one of our treatments, and Darrin is packing up one of our overnight bags, and so you're literally getting this prequel of what's happened to the story while also getting to see real life and it be a part of our current vlogging series. So it's kind of a weird situation that we have going on here, and you might hear Darrin in the background. Yeah, he did that just for y'all. But with that being said, I am going to try to walk through everything that has happened to us up until this point, and so when y'all start watching the vlog series, you will be able to know the story from the very beginning and then follow along with us from there. So let's get started. All right, where do I begin with this story? So first off, I have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia. That happened in 2017, late 2017, early 2018. I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is a nerve condition that basically causes your nerves to overreact to everything in your body, and at its core, it's an autoimmune deficiency. So with fibromyalgia, you suffer from anything from chronic fatigues, headaches, migraines, all over weakness, numbness, tingling, severe nerve pain. So I have a lot of sciatic pain, a lot of back pain. You can get really nauseous from all the nerve sensations, and it's just a lot to deal with. It makes you very prone to getting sick very easy, and you deal with a lot of pain on a day-to-day basis. Somebody with fibromyalgia, basically their nerves and their mind trick their body into thinking that their nerves overreact to the point where somebody else might feel somebody tap them on the arm like this, and it feels completely normal. But when somebody with fibromyalgia is having a flare-up or is in the middle of a reaction, somebody can touch them like this, and it feels like they are being hit with a brick. It is just extremely painful because your body overreacts to that sensation. So it is very, very real. It has only really become talked about in the medical community within the last 5 to 7 years, and so there's still a ton of research that needs to be done about it. We don't really know too much about what causes it or what really helps it. There are some diet changes you can make. They know that antidepressants help with it a little bit, but there's nothing you can really do to cure it. And so it's one of those diseases that is a chronic illness you just have to try to learn and manage. I had been diagnosed with that, and it answered a lot of the questions about what kind of pain I was feeling. And so that is what I was experiencing for the last 4 years. So a lot of people will ask, oh, did you have any kind of symptoms of cancer? Like, how did you not catch this sooner since it was stage 4 when you were diagnosed? And I think the answer to that is any pain that I did experience, we thought that I already had a diagnosis. Every pain that I experienced were also symptoms of fibromyalgia, and so it went unnoticed, and there was nothing on my scans or blood work to indicate that anything else was wrong. So that's, kind of to lay the groundwork. But the actual journey of this cancer started, I would say, at the end of February 2021, so of this year. I had planned a trip up to Arkansas because I was going to do some vendor connections with some local wedding vendors and set up for potentially having a boudoir marathon up there, and I was really excited about it. I was staying with some of our best friends, Stacy and Josh, in Northwest Arkansas, and traveling is always really difficult for me because of the fibromyalgia. And so when I went up there that last week of February, first week of March, I was in a lot of pain, but I assumed that it was just because of traveling so much. I was down pretty much that entire week. I had to cancel a lot of my vendor meetings because I was just in too much pain. I literally had to lay in my bed. I could not get out of bed. I had to be with heating pad. There were nights that I literally had to curl up into a fetal position in the shower and let the hot water beat down on my back. And now looking back, I know that it was where the pain in my back is where kidney pain is, but I didn't know that at the time. It was just my back is hurting, normal fibro stuff. I was traveling a lot. I stressed my body out. So I was in pain for that entire 2-week trip, traveled back to Mississippi. Oh, let me back up. Sorry. There were a few times during that trip to Arkansas that I would be laying in bed at night and I would get a really sharp but very, very quick, done and over with, just like that, stabbing pain in my side, in my left side. But anytime I would go to grab it, I noticed that it would be hard. But fibromyalgia can also cause you to have IBS, which I struggle with. And so I honestly just thought it was either constipation or my food processing, which happens a lot to me at night. And the pain would disappear quickly, thought it was my food digesting, and so I'd move my hand away and didn't think anything of it. I was fine. I got back to Mississippi, and I still could not get over the pain. Even after several days of resting, the pain was not letting up. And this was kind of unusual for me, but again, not so unusual that it caused me to worry or think anything was wrong. Well, I had an engagement session on March 13th, and I was still in a lot of pain. But if I canceled a session for every time that I was in pain, I would literally never be a photographer because I wouldn't be able to shoot. So I decided to push through anyways. Darrin did not like that because he could see that I was in even more pain than I was usually in. But I had made a commitment to my clients. I was really excited to meet with them. And we had planned this session for months. And so I was going to go to the session and I was going to do my job and show up for my clients. Well, the session was really difficult for me because I was in so much pain. I could tell from the very beginning that I was just off. I wasn't able to focus very well. The poses that I usually do just didn't come natural to me, and I was having a hard time just being able to focus and be present during the session. We got to our second location, and they went to change clothes, and that's when the pain started getting a lot worse. It got to the point where I couldn't stand, I couldn't take a step without there being shooting pain in the left side of my back and in my side, causing me to actually be brought to tears. I was having to fight through tears while they were changing, and I was trying to like control how I felt before they came back to take the rest of the photos with us. So they finished taking their changing their clothes, and I started taking photos again, which causes me to move around a lot. And literally within maybe 2 minutes of that outfit change, I was extremely dizzy. I couldn't focus. I started seeing black spots, and I passed out. Luckily, Darrin comes with me to all of my portrait shoots, and so he was there taking behind the scenes, and he literally saw that I was about to pass out, already watching me really carefully because of how I'd been feeling, and he was able to catch me before I hit the ground. I've had fainting spells before, so again, everything that I was experiencing at this point, there wasn't a reason to believe that there was anything wrong other than my regular fibro stuff. Darrin caught me. There was no way that I could finish that session, and this was the first time that I have ever left a session in the middle of a session, no matter how bad I was feeling. Bless my clients' hearts, they actually helped me to the car. Darrin got me into the car, and I came to, and we decided to go home. So our recently repaired car at that point gave us more trouble. As we were leaving our location, we had to stop at a Sonic before it stalled in the middle of the road. We were blocking people from going in and out of Sonic. We got the repairman out there, and I was just in excruciating pain this entire time, pretty much sleeping it off. And we had officially decided that, okay, I was going to go to the doctor. There was something going on. I at least needed to go to check out to make sure that I didn't have any kind of infection or anything like that. So for the next couple of days I rested. I did start getting a little bit nervous about the doctor's appointment. The engagement session was Saturday, planned on going to the doctor on Monday. And it was during this time that I started increasingly feeling the random sharp stabbing pain that I had experienced in Arkansas. And I just so happened one night to be laying in bed, and the sharp stabbing pain came on, and I happened to keep my hand there beyond when the pain had already passed. And that's when I realized that the side of my stomach was still hard even when pain wasn't there. And so that was kind of the first red flag that, okay, there is something in there, something going on. If there's something hard on my side, even when I'm not in pain, that's a consistent, like, hard something in there. Monday rolls around, and we get ready to go to the doctor. I hate going to the doctor. I am only comfortable with, well, at the time, I've met since then other doctors that I do actually like, but at the beginning of this journey, there was literally only one doctor that I have trusted and that I am willing to go to, and he is who we went to. So when we got there, I explained to him all of my symptoms. I said, I think it's just the regular fibro. The only thing that I'm really worried about or concerned about is the fact that I do feel this hard spot in my stomach. And, I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay. He had felt my stomach, and he knows how much I push myself despite my fibro, and there wasn't any other symptoms to indicate anything serious. And so he said, I'm pretty sure it's probably just a pulled muscle. Maybe it's a cyst, an ovarian cyst that has traveled up there. Let me do an x-ray just to be on the safe side, but it's probably just a strained muscle. I can give you some muscle relaxants to try to help you if the x-ray doesn't show anything, but I'm honestly not really that worried about it. You've probably just overdone it. Which sounds exactly like something I would do. So he does the x-ray, and the x-ray comes back, and he comes in confused, says, okay, so there is a mass. It is a very, very large mass, the size of about a grapefruit, and it just looks really weird. But I have seen and heard of ovarian cysts getting that large before, or it could just be an abnormal mass. Our bodies are weird, things happen. Especially since you're not having any other symptoms. I don't think it's anything to be alarmed about, but just to get a better look, I am going to call in for a CT that you're going to get done today at the hospital in Jackson, so we can rule out whatever it is and make sure that, we can remove the cyst. And we're like, great, okay, so I hate that I have to go through testing, but I can do that. We travel out to Jackson, which is about an hour away from where we are locally, and I have to get a CT. This was the first CT scan that I had ever done. Since then, I have become a pro. But one, I hate the barium enema, not barium enema, that's the wrong word. What's this dye that you drink, you know?
The drink?
Yeah, the CT drink dye.
Barium
I don't
drink.
know. Yeah. So basically the CT contrast milkshakey drink. That is the only option they had for me to drink there. It is disgusting. I almost puked. That was like one of the worst things that I've had to experience in this entire journey, was drinking that nasty milkshake. Anyways, so I go into the CT, and obviously I'm nervous because this is the first CT that I've ever had. But one thing that I remember is that they told me that they were going to push me into the CT 3 times. They were basically going to take 3 pictures. It would be done and over with really quick. They ended up taking like 7. And so that was my first time during this entire process that I thought, okay, so maybe there's something else going on, because it was weird to me that there were long breaks in between the pictures, and then they took more pictures than what they said they were going to. And it wasn't just like one more, like they missed a shot, like it was a significant amount more. And I remember there being a difference between when the nurse technician walked me into the CT and laid me down. She was all really happy and peppy and like totally like happy-go-lucky. And when she came back, that happiness and like smiling was still there, but there was a different tone to it. And you could just tell, or at least I could, that there was something that had happened. And her tone was just different. I didn't really think anything of it at that point, because at this point I'm just frustrated that I'm having to go through all these tests and doctor's appointments, and I'm resentful of having to go to the doctor at all. And so even through that, I'm not thinking anything like super horrible. So I finished with the CT, and we're sitting in the car in the hospital parking lot, and we decide, you know what, I'm going to get Outback, because I need Outback, like, after having gone through all this. So we're literally waiting to pull up the directions to get to Outback when our doctor from MEA calls us, or a nurse from our primary doctor's office calls us and says that they have the results of the CT and that they want us to come back in to discuss everything, which at this point we know that there's something wrong, because that's a very weird request. At this point, it's about 4:30, right?
Yep, and they closed at 5:30.
And they closed at 5:30.
And it takes us 50 minutes to get there. I remember this.
And it takes us 50 minutes to get back to home. They ended up keeping the office open for us, and they immediately pull us back into a private room. And when our doctor comes in, it's not just him, it's his superior too. And I think in that moment, you just know what's about to come out of their mouth, or at least I did. You just know that it's cancer, because it's just, that's what happens. I don't really know how to explain it, other than I was able to brace myself for them to say what I already knew. The superior, the one who is above our primary doctor, he ended up telling us that they found a mass that appears to be cancerous. They usually don't tell people to freak out about it being malignant until they do further tests, but this is a very large tumor the size of a grapefruit, and it has every single marker for being a malignant tumor, and we needed to prepare ourselves that this was indeed cancer. It was just a matter of what type of cancer and what we were going to do about it. The tumor was the size of a grapefruit, and on top of the tumor, they also saw a clot in the artery that was very, very concerning. And I honestly don't remember anything they said after that point, because it was so shocking. The head doctor ended up leaving and giving us time alone with our primary care physician, who is
crying with us now.
Absolutely amazing. And he started crying, and he said, "I'm sorry that I had to bring him in here with me, but I just couldn't do it without him. He's my teacher, he's my mentor, and I didn't know how to handle this situation without him by my side, because I've never had to deliver news like this to anybody before, especially to two patients who I like so much, because he's my doctor and Darrin's doctor." And so this was a big thing for us, for all three of us. It was this very big pivotal moment. He proceeded to tell us that he was going to make sure that he was following along with us this entire time. They were already in the works, pulling in all of their favors to get me into a urologist to do further testing and get second opinions, and that I was going to fight this, and that I was young, and I was going to be able to beat it, but it was serious, and it was going to be really, really difficult. I did not cry at the doctor's appointment. Darrin did. My doctor did. But I was still just in complete total shock. To give some comedic relief, the first thing that I said was, "Oh my gosh, Lily's graduation," which is my youngest sister. I'd been looking forward to going to her graduation in Arkansas for months at that point, and I was terrified that I would not be able to go because of cancer. And I was very mad about that. But the next few weeks were a whirlwind. We went home, or we went to, parked at a random Dollar General, or Family Dollar. It wasn't even Dollar General, it was Family Dollar, and proceeded to call
all the people.
My parents, his parents, my uncles, who are like fathers to me, our church pastor, our best friends, a couple of people from our church, telling the story over and over again, and just, not really knowing what to say, because we didn't really have any information other than the fact that it was very large. They have no idea how it had grown so quickly, because I had had x-rays and stuff before, and nothing had ever shown up, and my numbers were never off to indicate anything. There was no reason to believe anything was wrong with me.
Your numbers still aren't off.
Yeah, so there was no reason to believe anything was wrong, and this was a crazy situation, crazy circumstance, and it was going to be a difficult journey. So we go back home and we try to get our minds off of it, but obviously that doesn't work. And we're waiting on a call from our primary to say, "Hey, we've set you up with a urologist." We didn't know how long it was going to take. Well, the urologist ended up calling us literally that day, the next day, and asked us, said that they had an appointment for us in 2 weeks. And we said, "Wait a second." Our primary doctor said that this was really important, that we needed to get in as soon as possible. Darrin was fighting with him. He's like, no. They said that she has to get in like immediately. 2 weeks is too far away. The receptionist said, "Well, the doctor hasn't even looked at the scans yet. I was just calling to get the scheduling process started. Let me make sure that he looks at the scans, and if he thinks that he needs to see you sooner, then we will try to fit you in. But 2 weeks is the earliest we have for a new patient at this time." We accepted that answer, and within 30 minutes, the doctor was calling us back and fitting us in the very next morning before they ever even opened. And to go from a situation where the doctor's office says, "No, we can't see you for 2 weeks," to, "We need to see you tomorrow, and we're so busy that you need to come in before we start seeing any other patients we have scheduled." It was like another punch in the gut about how serious this is, because the medical field, the medical community is not known for their speed. And at this point, we got into CT the same day that we found the mass. Within 2 days, we were seeing a urologist before their business had even opened. And at the urologist appointment, he told us that he suspected it was an adult Wilms tumor. And that is an extremely aggressive, somewhat rare pediatric kidney cancer. But it was extremely rare to have an adult Wilms case, which is what I would be classified as. he suggested that we go to MD Anderson, and he set everything up. The scans that he got more extensive scans, and we found out that not only the tumor was on the kidney, enveloping the entire left kidney, but it had traveled up the artery towards the heart, and there were spots on our lungs as well.
And liver.
And on the liver. So
and the lymph nodes, of course,
and on the lymph nodes.
And we also talked about the cysts on the ovary, but we haven't even talked about that yet.
Yeah, and just to like add some good measure in there, on top of all of the tumor they found and how widespread it was, I had severe ovarian cysts that were causing additional problems, unrelated to the cancer itself, but still a problem that was causing me pain. So at this point, because it had spread to other organs in my body and the lymph nodes, it was officially classified as stage 4 cancer. Again, the medical community is not known for its speed, but our urologist pulled all the stops that he could to get us into the hospital for additional scans, and as quickly as possible. Within 1 week, we had more CT scans, a bone scan, and a biopsy, all before getting an appointment to MD Anderson, which we would travel to 10 days later. And MD Anderson is this major cancer research hospital. It's nearly impossible to get into MD Anderson within less than, a month at least. And here we are, less than 2 weeks from the time that we found a mass to the time that we are literally having our very first doctor appointment. It was less than 2 weeks. It was amazing to see how quickly God moved. And so it was really scary to be in that situation and have a situation that was so severe that doctors and hospitals and the scheduling of those appointments moved so quickly, because that is unheard of. And so to have a situation where red tape is being crossed in order to get you in really just solidifies the severity of what you are going through. And at the time, we didn't even understand exactly what we were going through. All we knew is that every doctor we have seen up until this point has looked at us with pity, extreme worry, and they have called in all of their favors in order to get us to the top of the line. And all of this was done in record speed. And so at the time, that really freaked us out and really started to make us worry. But it was ultimately an amazing blessing from God. And it's just a reminder of how he can use something that is so scary to us and so overwhelming. And even in the midst of that, he can still do these amazing miracles, because us being able to get into those appointments so early is nothing short of a miracle. And so from the very beginning of this, we've seen miracle after miracle and God working so amazing in our lives. And I'm so grateful for it. And we continue to see him do that as we continue this journey. So next up is MD Anderson and us actually getting our diagnosis. So we traveled to Houston, and we obviously have to go through pre-patient COVID test just to make sure that before I go into the hospital, I don't have COVID. This was a very weird situation to be in, trying to be diagnosed with cancer in the middle of a pandemic. That was probably some of the worst parts, was the fact that because of COVID, Darrin couldn't go into any of the appointments with me. And so while I was being diagnosed with cancer, I was literally by myself. And I know that God was with me, and I know that Darrin was only a phone call away, but I didn't have anybody to hold my hand. I didn't have anybody to talk with or to distract myself with or to help find the appointments and the rooms in this massive place. Oh my gosh, that place is huge. I was by myself. So it's probably the most sucky thing I've had to do as an adult. Like, because I'm an adult that even my husband couldn't come in with me. Anyways, so I end up going through additional tests at MD Anderson. Basically everything I've done up until this point, CT scans, bone scans, MRIs, I do the full 9 because they basically start from square one. And so I'm getting all these tests. I'm going to different doctor's appointments. They suspect I have the Wilms tumor, and so they send me to the pediatric oncologist, since Wilms tumor is technically a pediatric thing. And she basically takes one look at me and says, nope, this isn't Wilms tumor. Back to the drawing board. And so we go through a bunch more tests, a bunch more blood work. I'm shortening this, but it basically comes down to our doctor thinking that we have HLRCC. I wish I actually remembered what all those words stand for, but we've been thrown so much medical jargon at this point and that was such a long time ago that it's all blurred together. But the first diagnosis was Wilms tumor, and that got rolled out. Then it was HLRCC, and it was such a rare cancer that only about 300 families have been documented to have it. They had to do a kidney biopsy because beforehand they did a liver biopsy. And basically the doctor told me that we would need to start treatment for the HLRCC because this tumor and cancer is so aggressive that if we don't start treatment, then it literally is going to be growing significantly day by day. So if it is HLRCC, then we get a head start on the treatment, and that's what we need to do. If it's not HLRCC, then there's no harm in me getting the cancer treatments anyways, because even if it doesn't help treat the cancer that I do have, it's not going to negatively impact the cancer that I have either. Like, it's not going to negatively impact my health. So we decide to go ahead and start my cancer treatments. Now that the decision has been made to start the cancer treatments, we schedule the appointment, and at this point I have gone through so much testing and blood work, and my body has just been put through the ringer. I have gotten worse and worse over the course of 3 weeks at this point. We had spent in Texas just waiting for different test results, going to different doctor's appointments. No, go here. Now you have to go here. It was a lot. My body was completely and totally broken. It got to the point where I was having to be in a wheelchair. And it was because I got to the point that I had to be in a wheelchair that we found out that Darrin was going to be able to be the one to push me in the wheelchair and go in with me to my first cancer treatment. So that would have been amazing enough as is. But it turns out that my first cancer treatment was scheduled for my birthday. And so literally my birthday present was Darrin being able to be with me for my appointments from that point forward. It's kind of a bittersweet thing because yes, I started cancer treatment on my birthday, but Darrin was finally able to be there with me, and I honestly could not have asked for a better gift during that season of our lives. It really, really made a difference to me. And so I was extremely happy with that despite what we were going through. We get through the cancer treatment, and it has some really bad side effects. I spend the next couple days really sick at the hotel, only to find out from the results that came back from the kidney biopsy that it was not HLRCC, and so I had to get different cancer treatment because we officially got the diagnosis of renal cell carcinoma TFE3 positive. Basically, that means that I have kidney cancer that attacks the TFE3 positive cells, manipulates that gene. It is an extremely rare type of kidney cancer. Only 1 to 3, is that the statistics?
1.5.
1.5 what?
1.5% of all kidney cancers.
Yeah, so, okay. The numbers blend together. 1.5% of all kidney cancers are the TFE3 positive. And so it's really rare. It is also rare that I am so young and have that, because I am only 22 years old. And it is rare that it was stage 4 when it was found. Just a whole round of, you're really special. So we have to go on a different cancer treatment, and it was dual immune therapy, which means I was on 2 different immune therapy drugs, Nevo and Ipi. I would get both of those drugs together in the same treatment, like back to back. One would be pushed and then the other every 3 weeks. And I would alternate treatments between MD Anderson and our local oncologist in Jackson, Mississippi. And when I was in MD Anderson, so basically every 6 weeks, that's when we would do progress reports to see what has happened to the tumor itself and how we are in the process. So we get my first reel, is what we call it, because I had my first treatment that ended up being the wrong treatment, but my first treatment that was the correct treatment. We get my first treatment in MD Anderson. We go home. We spend less than 24 hours in our own home before I spike a 102-degree fever and am rushed to the hospital in Jackson. And I spend the next 4 days in the hospital. 5 days? 4 days. I spend the next 4 days in the hospital. They have to run a ton of blood work, a ton of scans, just to make sure that I'm not going into sepsis, because that can happen as a side effect of the treatment. And anytime a cancer patient goes into the hospital with a high fever, they have to automatically assume or automatically rule out sepsis. And so you have to go through a ton of testing to make sure that you're okay in that matter. So I spent the first 2 days just literally waiting on test results, where they wouldn't really do anything to help, because they didn't want to do anything that was going to cause any infection to get worse or cause my reactions to get worse. Finally, they were able to rule out everything else, and we decided it was just a reaction to the treatment. They pumped me full of steroids to help combat that, and I was able to start mending. We, at that point, met our local oncologist for the first time, and she explained to us that it was extremely rare that we would get such high fevers and react like this, because this was not a normal reaction to this type of immune therapy, and they didn't really know why this had happened, but it was likely just this one-time fluke and we wouldn't need to worry about it. But just to be on the safe side, they were going to wait 1 extra week. So instead of getting treatment in 3 weeks, I was going to get treatment in 4 weeks, just to give my body extra time to heal. I was really happy about this, because it also meant that I was able to go to my younger sister's graduation. And that was literally the one thing that I'd been saying to all of my doctors from all of this, is that y'all can pump me full of all the drugs you want. I will follow whatever schedule you want me to follow. But please, I want to be able to make it to her graduation. That is what I want. And I was able to do so, and so I was really happy. So anyways, we go through the next 3 weeks kind of just in a blur. I'm getting used to my new normal. I'm really, really sick during this time, really weak. Spend the majority of my time just in bed because I'm feeling so bad. Even after the fevers have passed, I have extreme weakness. I have really bad back pain, really, really nauseous, really dizzy. I get severe headaches, and it makes it to where I can literally only stay up for about maybe 6 hours in total throughout the day, and the rest of the time I'm sleeping because my body is just so exhausted. 4 weeks later come, and I get my second treatment, and I end up going into the hospital again. So this time I was there for 5 days, and it was essentially the exact same thing. They had to run all of the tests to make sure that I didn't have sepsis. I didn't. They pumped me full of steroids. It took me longer to get over it. But I was okay. But again, this was extremely rare for them, because this didn't happen, especially twice. But this is just how I react to the cancer treatment that I'm going through, and makes my life really difficult. So our goal at that point was to literally just remain out of the hospital, because I hated going into the hospital where literally all they would do is pump me full of steroids and give me Tylenol and just monitor me. And I wanted to be able to do that from the comfort of my own home instead of having to go to the ER every time. which is essentially what happened. At this point, we are hitting 6 weeks of treatment, and it is time for us to go to MD Anderson for our first round of progress reports. When we get to MD Anderson, we find out that the treatment is working, which was a really good thing. So the treatment is working, but it's pseudo-progression, which means that it looks like it's not working. If you look at the scans, the tumor looked bigger. It looked like the tumor had actually spread, but they actually could tell that the particles that they were seeing in the scans weren't actually tumor itself. They were actually called T cells, and those T cells are what attacks the tumor and actually starts healing it. So while the tumor did look bigger, it was basically swollen at that point, and the T cells was what was making everything look bigger. We go on to get treatment for the Nevo-Ipi, and I have an adverse reaction. The adverse reaction was really bad. Honestly, it was a lot of pain. I started to get really tight chest, like somebody was sitting on me, pressure in my chest. It started to becoming difficult to breathe. I started coughing really bad. And then I started getting pain in the top of my neck, and it started slowly spreading down my spine, and bursts of pain would radiate out from my spine in short spasms, strong enough to literally make me arch my back. It almost looked like I was seizing, or I was having the defibrillator put on me, like when your back jumps up. That's how bad the spasms were from the pain. It went from the top of my neck and slowly spread down all the way to down into my calves and down to my knees. My heart rate dropped down like super low, my oxygen dropped down super low. My heart rate went through the roof, and it took them a good 30 minutes just to get me to stop being in pain and stop having that reaction. Once all of that was finished, the doctor who had not been following our case, she was just the one monitoring us during treatment, trying to comfort us, said, don't worry about it. The first time you get this treatment, if you're going to have a reaction, this is the normal reaction to have, so you don't have to worry about anything. We actually see this quite a bit. And it was then that we told her, this is our third treatment. To which she responded, what? This never happens. Are you sure it's your third treatment? Which, of course, yes, we were sure. It's just one more thing that my body is the unicorn and reacts in the craziest ways that the doctors don't expect. So they were able to solve the adverse reaction, solve the treatment, and I was sent back home. We made it to about 7 days before the high fevers and all of the side effects started hitting. This time, I did not want to go into the hospital because I had been to the hospital multiple times at this point, and all they did was monitor me and give me Tylenol and, try to keep my pain under control, and I wanted to be able to do that from my house. And so that's what we did. It was a very, very miserable 3 days, but we alternated between Tylenol and ibuprofen, and we made sure that I had cool rags on me at all times, and it was a really, really rough 3 days, but we were able to manage it at home, which made me extremely grateful. I was very happy about that. I told y'all that this was going to be like vlogging style, real life. My light died in the middle of all of this, and so I had to change positions a little bit. All right, so we were talking about the third treatment and my first adverse reaction. While I was at the doctor's appointment surrounding this adverse reaction, we found out that I had a concerning blood clot in my pelvis that had part of it had broken off and moved towards my lungs. And so to combat this, he put me on Eliquis, which is a blood thinner, and we were able to stay on Eliquis basically for a month, and it would help stop the blood clot from growing even further and eventually shrink the blood clot. So that was our big concern during our third round of appointments and treatments that we went to. And that is important because that is actually a precursor to some of the updates that we are currently giving in our live vlogging series, the ones that I am having to do this prequel for now. And so I'm not going to get into really what happened in this video or why that is important, but it is important to note that that is what happened during my third appointment, treatment, cycle, whatever you want to call it, because it's because of some of that we are dealing with what we are dealing with right now. And part of what caused us to start this vlogging series instead of me just doing a written recap on Instagram captions. All right, so now we are on to the fourth treatment and doctor's appointments. At this point, we are back at our local oncologist because, like I said, we alternate in between our local oncologist and MD Anderson. And so our fourth set of doctor's appointments and our fourth treatment were in Jackson. And during the entire time from our third treatment to our fourth treatment, we were very, very nervous about the blood clot because blood clots are obviously very serious. It had already traveled up towards the lungs, and so we were really, really worried about it. It's a big deal, and we were kind of on edge this entire time leading up to our fourth set of doctor's appointments. We were scared to basically do anything, and we were trying to balance between, okay, you are a cancer patient, and so you're prone to blood clots, and you need to stay moving as much as possible, but because of your reaction to treatment, moving makes it dangerous because you're wearing your body out too much, and then also you have a blood clot in your pelvis, which is like where you do the majority of your movements anyways, and so that makes it difficult, especially for like bending over and picking something up off the ground, like even that, or getting up and down from going to the bathroom. Made it to where we were always nervous that something was going to happen to dislodge the blood clot or a piece of it break off. We were on edge for those 3 weeks, very, very nervous, and we were excited to be able to see some kind of progress. And so during those 3 weeks, we were being extra careful. And because of some new drugs that my doctor at MD Anderson had put me on, in combination with the blood thinner, I was actually starting to feel a little better. Like my symptoms from the side effects were getting better and more manageable, and I felt like we were on the way to improving my quality of life. So we went into the fourth doctor's appointment very hopeful and optimistic, and just wanting to like get rid of our worries. We asked her about the blood clot. And again, she wasn't the one who diagnosed it, but we asked her, hey, we've been on Eliquis for a month, and what is the progress going to look like with the blood clot? Like, what exactly can we and can we not do? Are we okay? How long is this going to take? Just a ton of questions that have been running through our mind. And she essentially told us that because of the dosage of Eliquis that we were on, and the fact that it was such a strong drug, that the blood clots were basically gone within 2 weeks of taking Eliquis, and so that we really didn't have anything to worry about because we had almost hit 1 month of being on Eliquis, and by that point there was nothing we had to worry about. And so she felt comfortable literally taking us off of blood thinners because there was really no reason for us to continue to stay on blood thinners. But she didn't want to officially take us off since she wasn't the one who actually prescribed the blood thinners. So she said that what she was going to do instead, since there was no need for me to be on blood thinners, she was just going to cut me down to a half dose, and that is what I needed to start taking. And then if my doctor at MD Anderson wanted to remove me completely, he could, but she at least, did something. And we were really happy about this because we're like, all right, great, we're in the clear. This is good. This is what we wanted, and we went on our way to get our treatment. Since the treatment had, I had an adverse reaction to it before, they decided to push pre-treatment drugs to try to counteract that reaction. Well, they pushed the pre-treatment drugs, and then within 15 minutes, they were pushing my cancer drugs. And within another 5 minutes, I was having the same adverse reaction. This time it was even worse. It lasted longer. It was more severe. It was the same chest tightness, difficulty breathing, coughing, then the super high heart rate, low oxygen, the pain that started at my neck and radiated down my spine. And this time my jaw was locking up really bad too. It was like clenching, and then it would like quiver. So it took about 30 minutes again for them to be able to stop all the reactions. And then we went home. And I was actually feeling okay after the treatment. And then day 5 hit, and we had our fevers again. This time, again, we wanted to stay home. And so that's what we did. And it took us 2.5 days to get over the fevers. The fevers got really scary at one point. We went up to 103.8. And basically we had decided that if the fever ever went to 104, then we would go to the hospital immediately. At 103.8, I really had to beg Darrin to not go to the hospital because it was right there at that cusp. We debated for a long time, but ultimately I'm glad that we didn't go to the hospital because we were able to get it back down. I just made sure that I didn't sleep during that time, and so that nothing, that we could literally continue to monitor me. We took my temperature every 30 minutes and continued to put cold rags on me, and had fans blowing on me, literally anything we could to just get my body temperature down, and it worked. It was a lot of hard work. We were very, very exhausted, but we do feel like we are better equipped now, that if the fevers happen again, that we can manage them from home and we can be okay, which ultimately helps me heal faster because I don't have to recover from being in the hospital, which, recovering from being in the hospital in general is just always very, very difficult. But I'm in my own bed. I have everything that I would need as far as comfort goes. I'm able to eat because anytime I go into the hospital, they put me on no food or drinks. And so I'm able to continue to eat and drink, which helps keep my strength up, which helps fight the fever. And so we've just decided that for our treatment, for our own personal needs, we are going to stay at the house unless my fever gets to 104, and that is the threshold at which we go to the hospital. But anything under that, we try to manage ourselves. All right, I know this was a long video. I know that this was kind of all over sporadic because I had to move a couple of different times, but you will probably be watching this video first because it will be the first one in the series, since it's a prequel to all the vlogging that we're doing, which you will see is very sporadic. It's very laid back and casual, and so this kind of sets you up for what it's going to be. Thankfully, the vlogging that we've been doing is not just a bunch of talking heads like this. We literally take you along on the journey with us, take you along to doctor's appointments. There are even some cases where you can literally see the tests that are being done on me, so you can really understand what it's like for us to walk through this journey and walk through this season that we're in now, and us be able to easily and readily share what God is showing us and what we are learning during this very trying, very different, very chaotic season of our lives. I just want to say thank you for all of y'all's love and support. I've had so many people reach out, talking about how they're praying for us and they're thinking about us and how they've put us in this prayer chain and their church is praying and asking us what they can do in order to help us with this journey. And it really just means so much to us. Y'all will never know. We can't say thank you enough. It starts to feel very repetitive for us to say thank you. It means so much to us, but just know that we truly do mean those words, and y'all helping by praying, y'all helping by encouraging, the fundraisers that have been put in place for us because of financial burden, it means the world to us, and there is no way that we are ever going to be able to repay all of y'all. We are just so, so grateful for y'all, and are so grateful for this community that we have following us, and uplifting us and supporting us. Let us know what you want to see, what questions you have about walking through cancer, what questions you have about how we handle difficult situations, what you want to see from me and Darrin. I'm sure that, to keep us entertained during this very trying season of our lives, we can throw in some fun videos for y'all, and hopefully just let y'all into our day-to-day lives and We're really looking forward to this. I started this vlogging because I knew from the very beginning that God wanted me to share this story. I knew that if I was going to have to battle stage 4 cancer, that I didn't want it to be for nothing. I wanted to be able to help other people be inspired by what God is doing in our lives and help glorify His kingdom and help tell the story, whatever the story is that He is writing, because most days I look at it and I do not understand what's going on, but I'm just along for the journey just as much as y'all are. I'm just waiting and seeing what God does, and I know that He's capable of great things, and we're just watching all of those things play out in the midst of hardship. And it's hard for me to share a lot of this stuff. It's my natural instinct to want to run and hide and pretend like this isn't happening, that the cancer doesn't exist, that I just want to go on and be normal and pretend that we never got the bad news. But I can't do that, and I know that He doesn't call me to be fearful. He calls me to share my testimony, and this is literally becoming part of my testimony. I also want as many people praying as possible if I'm going to be battling stage 4 cancer. I want people praying on my behalf and interceding to God on my behalf so that we can fight this, and that is why I'm sharing this story. It's difficult to share, and I've learned over the last week of just starting this vlog that it is not always easy, and I don't always want to share, and it's easy to only share the good parts, but life isn't all about the good parts. It's about everything that happens as a whole, and there is good and there is bad, but all of it can create a beautiful story, and God can use every single part of it, the good and the bad. And that's what I hope to share with other people. So, thank you for coming to this very long video of what has happened up until this point in our journey, and we hope that you continue to follow along. Let's see where this goes.